But now we're going to switch gears to one of online travel's fastest growing companies. Last month, it acquired a Paris-based airline merchandising and customer care platform called Snooze. And it's also announced its move into home rentals. So in fact, from the time our next speaker joined Hopper 9 months ago to now, the company has grown in valuation from 1.5 billion to 5 billion. And now it's hopping across to Asia Pacific, where Reno Wang, who's Vice President for APAC, is taking the charge. So here's my conversation with Reno on what led him to join Hopper, and then his views as an employee as well as leader of the APAC business and how he bridges East and West. Over to you, Reno. Hey, Reno, thanks for joining us for this conversation. So it's interesting, I was reading about you and you joined Hopper as GM of APAC just 9 months ago. Tell us why you chose to join Hopper and, a little bit about your background and how you ended up at Hopper.
Yeah, sure. Please allow me to introduce my background a little bit. So I started my career at Sabre, as a developer, then switched to technical consulting. I was there for 5 years. Then I moved back to China and I joined Alibaba Freaky. Then I returned to the US and joined Alipay to help them oversee PSP partnership for US market, right? This actually gave me the knowledge of fintech. This combination of the travel and the fintech made me a good match for Hopper. So Hopper has been growing tremendously fast since it introduced the fintech to its business. The other two biggest incentives to join Hopper are the vision of Hopper executive management and the company culture. Okay, so both Hopper CEO Fred and CSO Dakota, they clearly see the values of Asian e-commerce giants business models and the playbooks, and are determined to introduce good features into our next gen of products. So this is not very common in Western companies, and it makes me really think, my experience at Alibaba will be more worthwhile, right?
Right. So you really have sort of the best of both worlds. I mean, you've worked with a multinational like Sabre, and then you've had experience with Alibaba and Alipay, and now on to this next chapter with Hopper. So what have your top priorities been the last 9 months? I'm sure it must have been super, super crazy because Hopper's been growing so fast.
Yeah, so here I have to bring up this Hopper's uniqueness in its operating structure, right? Which is the STO, single thread ownership model as its org structure and the team management style, which was popularized by Amazon in the tech industry. Actually, so great motivated people like me, who want to prove our own entrepreneurship, right? So my current the top 3 priorities is hiring and strategy making and onboarding the entire team, and to align our business goals of region with the whole company.
Right. So with the STO model, which is a single thread ownership, you are effectively the CEO of your own business. So it's like you're running a startup within a startup. All right. So
exactly.
So how big is your APAC team now? I mean, you started 9 months ago. How big is the team now?
Yeah. So in the STO structure, we have literally like a small startup. We have business team and product team and engineering team, et cetera, right? Currently, we have 14 people in total, 3 in Singapore, and the rest, widely distributed in the US and APAC.
Right. So how big do you want to grow it to, say, by the end of this year? I mean, are you looking to hire right now in APAC?
Yeah, we're actually continuously hiring, especially we're hiring engineers, right? There actually is no a fixed number of limit for our manpower. It totally depends on our business growth and the scale.
Right, okay. Can you run APAC from Dallas?
Yes.
Very far away, you're very far away.
Yeah, that's so true. So first of all, the entire Hopper is actually fully remote, right? We don't care where you are as long as you can deliver, right? For Hopper APAC, we have 2 priorities, and B2C and the B2B. Okay, for B2B, we're actually offering our Hopper cloud services. So our business development teams can drive that. And like the trip.com partnership, that deal actually was signed by myself, right? So B2B is much easier. It really kind of like independent of where you are, as long as you have good network and good BD skills, right, to close the deals. So B2C a little harder. We actually cover, we target like 14 countries in APAC. So we have set up the tier-based strategies to expand our businesses. Well, tier one, our top tier had 4 countries for now, like Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, and India. Their commonalities are, all English-speaking countries, and the credit card adoption rate is pretty good overall, right? So Hopper grew out of the US and English, and credit card dominance. So across the rest of APAC, credit card adoption is not that high. So we need to connect, alternative payment methods. That's our next step.
Right. So you're looking to attack countries that have kind of similar characteristics to the US where Hopper grew up. So now, having worked with a multinational like Sabre, and then you've had Alibaba, Alipay, and now Hopper, how would you compare the experiences?
That's an interesting question. So generally speaking, Chinese companies' culture is very different from the West, especially those e-commerce tycoons. Like Alibaba's style is more intense than the West for sure. Their pace is super fast. The big transition for myself, from Sabre, a luxury industry company, to Alibaba, right? Even myself, got a literally like a culture shock. But literally, luckily, I had been on the consulting team earlier, so I was more used to the intense work schedules. So I picked up a lot from Alibaba ecosystem, like e-commerce deals, marketing, B2C business. They're actually more advanced, especially about the B2C e-commerce. They're more advanced than the West. And then, also part of my experience, like Alipay is a different story. I have to, it was actually happened when I was in US. I had to work all time zones across different, Pacific time and China time, even though I oversaw the local partnership. Decision actually were made out of Hangzhou, China. The challenge is how to help the Chinese colleagues, understand the Western market and get enough resources to get a pipeline met and a KPI fulfilled, right? So it gave me the domain knowledge of fintech, and Alibaba also gave me lessons, in B2C and e-commerce businesses. I really like, the single thread ownership model of Hopper. Everyone just wants to be a CEO of a business. So this is there's no excuse for no success for your own STO, right? Which actually totally depends on ourselves.
Right. So do you have more time to yourself now, Reno? I mean, the pace at Alibaba and Alipay was super intense, and Hopper, you have single thread ownership. So do you have a bit more time to yourself now? Do you have a more relaxed lifestyle now?
Well, I think the STO model fully drive me a lot, right? This is why, especially I treat my work at Hopper literally like starting my own company. So I'm fully motivated and dedicated to the business. That means sometimes I have to sacrifice sort of time. But the fully remote model actually allows me to manage the work-life balance much better than have to come to our office as always, right?
Yeah,
as you can see,
that's
I don't
the
have
difference,
to spend time on the commute. That's right.
Yeah, that's the difference, isn't it? It's like, ownership, like, because you have, ownership of that business. So you are driven by that single thread ownership. This is great. But also money comes into it, right? I mean, like practically we all want to make more money, earn more money. And that must have been attractive too for Hopper to have hired someone like you.
Well, to be frank, my level at Alibaba was not low, right? So yeah, so I would say comp level when I joined Hopper is definitely comparable. And especially Hopper had been so rapidly growing, which actually also bumped its valuation, from 1.5 billion as when I joined, into today's valuation, which is actually $5 billion.
That's incredible. So that's 9 months of growth. And the fact is, I guess you are also attracted to the upside, right? Because you're looking after emerging markets where Hopper is basically almost ground one, let's say 1.0, right? And it has a lot of room to grow. So clearly it's the upside that you are interested in. Okay, so now what can you just tell me one key lesson you think someone like Hopper can teach Chinese companies about wanting to go global, right? I mean, like Trip.com, for example, they just launched a hybrid work model. That's one example.
Hybrid remote, is definitely Hopper's culture, right? I can only speak for myself. If they want a more international business, they need more international talents, right? Language is actually one of the biggest barriers to those Chinese companies, and localization is important as well. And once you develop your business in emerging markets, you have to give the decision power to the local folks, right, who actually understand the local markets best. So it's one reason why Lazada, after acquisition by Alibaba, gradually lost the market share to Shopee and loss of localization at the decision-making level.
So a key thing is localization, and I'm sure you're taking that lesson to localizing Hopper in APAC. And I know that you say your employment is not based on race or nationality. You don't care where people are actually based. You've hired Rajiv Kumar, who came from Air Asia, so he really knows the local markets. So, my question is, remote and hybrid workplaces appear to be the wave of the future. A lot of companies are doing it. But how hard is it to build culture when you are remote?
It's definitely not easy to build a culture. Let all of your employees recognize it, right? Especially those new hires from different working culture. So I would say first, you should be able to clearly state the culture. So Hopper have our own clear tenets. But second, set up the disciplines for your team to follow. Third, set up appropriate but clear reward and a penalty mechanism for the performance, right? Fourth, I guess, provide a bi-directional communication channel between the frontline workers and yourself as a leader. Okay. Lastly, yourself is the best example for your team. So yeah, that's my philosophy.
All right. So I want to go back to appropriate but clear rewards. So can you share a couple of benefits that are special to Hopper and are valued by employees?
Absolutely. So Hopper has unlimited time payoff. We don't need a quota of holidays. We have global WeWork access. Every individual is unique, right? Some prefer totally work from home. Some actually prefer sometimes working in the office, meeting in person. So we actually also have a stipend. Our loyalty program like Carol Cash. That kind of loyalty points can allow our employees to redeem them for travel expenditures at Hopper.
Carrot Cash. Have you redeemed any for your travel, Reno?
Yes, I have redeemed. I actually redeemed a lot.
Okay, and traveling in the US. Okay, when you say unlimited time payoff, that means you don't have an annual leave program. You don't have to. You say you have 4 weeks or 2 weeks. What? So you actually get paid all the time? What does that mean? Unlimited time payoff?
Yeah, unlimited time payoff is simply means you don't have, as I said, you don't have a limited quota for your time off, right? It's totally based on the demand and the requirements. So as I said in the first place, we don't care where you work at and where you are, and as long as you can deliver. So we don't have like a 9-5 schedule, right? Yeah, as long as you can deliver your work, you can manage your total calendar by yourself.
Right. Do you think that applies really to senior execs, or is it all, employees, or does it also work with rank and file, for example?
This absolutely.
Unlimited.
Absolutely. Totally.
It does. Yeah. It does. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
This is why we actually stress to every single employee. You have to be self-driven and treat your business here as like your own business.
And you got to take your own holiday. You got to take your own time off for your own mental wellness. Okay, so we're going to end with rapid fire. All right, so very fast answers. questions you always ask a new hire?
Well, I would say the following three questions I usually ask not only new hire, but also every one of my team. First, do you clearly know what you want to do and not to do, especially the latter? Second, are you clear with what to do for the following 3 months? Last, do you see any problems with the team and our business today?
Okay, so very briefly, key lesson Western companies can learn from Chinese companies like Alibaba.
Okay, that's a good question. So I would say, like the agility to the market dynamics.
Okay. A key lesson that Chinese companies can learn from Western companies.
Well, work-life balance, how to, make your people just like, physically and mentally healthy as always.
Okay. So rice or bread, noodles or pasta?
Well, I was born and raised in Shanghai, China. So technically speaking, I have a Chinese stomach, right? But I also received education in the States. So that's why a big part of my ideation comes from the West. So I would say the combination of both.
A mix of both.
Yes.
But if you just had to have one last meal, Reno, what would it be?
Oh, my mom's dish, whatever it is.
All right. What motivates you? Like what really drives you, personally?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I've already shared my career development perspectives while I joined Hopper, right? Actually, from a personal interest perspective, I think to the big, I always have the passion to improve people's lives and make the world more united using my knowledge and capabilities. This is also why I'm still passionate about travel business, simply because travel actually connects people from all over the world and allows us to have a better understanding of each other. But to the small, I want to earn more money, right? And could allow me to give my family a better life.
Again, a balance, right? Make money to give your family a better life, but then be able to do a greater good, like make the world more united through travel. So Reno, when is your first trip to APAC? Since you are building up APAC, when are you planning to be here?
I've been thinking of it all the time. I think as long as our APAC countries actually open their border, we will be there.
Well, Singapore is open now, Reno, so we wait to welcome you for vaccinated travelers from the US. So as soon as you make it to Singapore, give us a call, okay, and we'll connect you to the right universe in APAC. Thank you, Reno.
It will be on my calendar. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Bye-bye.